once again, St. Louis, to what retirement means to you with Jerry Means. He's the president and founder of the Means Financial Group. I'm Spike Spangle. Jerry, what's on your mind this week?
I'm doing good, Spike. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We've got a lot of things that we want to cover on today's program. What do you think we should kick off with?
Well, you know, being from St. Louis, I'm a native to St. Louis. I'm a diehard St. Louis Cardinals fan. So I thought today we would kind of use the covering your bases analogy and try to cover, make sure your bases are covered in retirement.
Fantastic. We want to touch all of the bags in retirement and make sure that we don't skip any of them. One of the very first things when it comes to covering your bases in retirement has got to be your own investment strategy. But here's the thing, Jerry. We use a lot of those 401ks, 403bs, 457s. I think a lot of folks are choosing funds for 20 or 30 years, but I don't know if they have a strategy. What should people be thinking about as they're saving for retirement?
Well, first of all, when you're talking about retirement plans, a lot of those have what's called target date funds in them. And the premise behind a target date fund is you pick the year that you're going to retire or you think you're going to retire. And that plan is supposed to adjust your risk the closer that you get to that date. So if you have a plan that's a 2028 plan, that means you're going to retire in a few years. So you're going to have a much more conservative portfolio. The problem with that is all those plans do is make an adjustment between stocks and bonds. That's it. It's a very simple simplicity plan. In 2022, when the Fed raised interest rates 13 times, something interesting happened. It was the first time in history that both stocks and bonds dropped double digits. It had never happened before. It happened in different times because the idea is they offset each other usually, right? Until they don't. And that happened in 2022, so it wasn't that long ago. So that's not always going to be what you look at. You really should sit down with a financial advisor and really get an explanation of what's inside those target date plans and what other options are out there.
I'm so glad that you brought up that 2022. I can literally picture the chart in my head. It was the S&P 500 went down about 19% in 2022 because people were talking about interest rates and all those changes. And then the 10-year and the 20-year Treasury, which we consider the interest rate market, they went down between 17 and 25%. So folks who thought they were moving over to safety with interest rates and bonds were just as hurt. And those target date funds you talked about, they had the worst year on record since their own inception in 2022. So what is the investment strategy then? I mean, we're working, whether it's at the plant or we're a teacher or manufacturer, whatever your great job is out there, are we supposed to be an investment manager at the same time with our 401k?
Well, I think that's why it's important to reach out and get second opinions and have someone sit down and help you with that. Outside of 401k plans, I've seen people come in, they've had an advisor for maybe 20 years, right? They love playing golf with them. They have a good relationship. But I'll ask, when's the last time you really sat down and talked about the risk in your portfolio? Because they're coming in to see me for a reason, right? Maybe they had a really bad year and they're thinking, is there something more I could have done to prevent this from happening? Or maybe they feel like they haven't gotten enough growth. Maybe I should have done something different to get that growth. I had a lady recently come in and she said, Jerry, I told my advisor I want to be conservative, but in 2022, I lost 18% of my portfolio. I'm retiring in a few years. I don't know if I can afford that to happen again. And I said, well, have you talked to them about being more conservative in your portfolio? And I said, yeah, I just assumed as I'm getting older that my advisor is making those adjustments. So when I sat down and I looked at her plan, on the back page, it actually says this is an aggressive portfolio. It said it right there in black and white. But how many people really read that fine print on that back page, right?
Yeah.
So when I showed her that, she said, why hasn't he adjusted? And the truth is some advisors get complacent, right? They just don't go ahead and readjust. They're just growing the portfolio. And that's where we talk about accumulation, preservation, and distribution. A lot of advisors, a lot of firms out there, especially big box firms, are accumulation firms. They're going to help you grow that money in those working years. You're contributing to the plan. Markets go up, markets go down, but over time it's going to grow. But as your time horizon to retirement shortens and you get in that financial red zone, is what we like to call it, now you really have to look at the risk in your portfolio because you don't have that time to recover as much. And a lot of advisors don't go back and make those adjustments. And that's why it's important to do annual reviews. I actually meet with my clients every 6 months.
Yeah.
more often if they're retiring that year, because there's more planning that needs to be done. But we said, just like a dentist office, I went in and got my teeth cleaned. What did they do when I left? They set me up for 6 months in advance for another appointment. Now, I don't know what I'm doing in 6 months. I might have to reschedule, but it's on my calendar. I'm going to get my teeth cleaned again sometime around that date, right? It's the same thing with a financial plan and doing a review.
Right. This investment strategy, especially because it's your name on the door, it sounds like you are monitoring it, your team is monitoring it. Is the investment strategy the same during your working years as it is then when we're moving into retirement? Because as you said, that retirement red zone, we can't take losses. We totally taking our foot off the gas? Maybe you can describe a little bit of the investment strategy of the Means Financial Group.
Yeah, well, we still want to help you accumulate investments, and make your accounts grow. But now we're starting to turn an eye more on preservation and a distribution strategy, right? We want to help you keep what you've already earned. A lot of people come in, they've already hit the home run, right? They've already saved a lot of money, going back to the baseball analogy, right? Now all they need are singles and doubles. We don't have to swing for the fences because we don't want to strike out, right? We just want to get base hits, still want to grow it, but we want to keep that eye on preservation. And then distribution, we want to figure out what your income plan is going to be. How are you going to take all that money you saved your entire life for and turn it into an income stream? That's why we saved it. So doesn't it make sense to plan ahead, not wait till the year you retire to have a strategy to do that distribution?
Yeah. Would you say that a safe bunt to first base is the equivalent of a short bond?
It could be, I guess.
Just playing. So it's a mixture of all different kinds of tools, but you have to be aware of what that investment strategy is. Do you explain it so your families, the folks who come to your office, also understand what that strategy is? Do you do it all for them? How does it work?
So we like to do all of the heavy lifting, but I also look at it as I have some clients come in and they like that control of their own investments. They want to have some say-so. And I compare that to a pilot of a plane. A pilot of a plane always has a co-pilot, right? So it makes sense to have, even if you want to do it yourself, maybe have someone in there as your co-pilot. Now, other clients come in, they don't want anything to do with it.
Nothing to do with this.
Jerry, you do all the heavy lifting, you take care of it from A to Z, and we're fine with doing that. We're happy to sit down and take the wheel and drive that for them. But like I said, it depends on the client and what they're looking to do and how involved they want to be. But yes, we sit down and make sure that they understand it's not just give me your money and trust me. We're going to sit down, we're going to explain exactly what we're doing for you and why and how we've segmented it, where it's going and how those vehicles work.
And what you can do right now as one of our viewers, you can call the phone number that comes up on the bottom of the screen and we will do your own on-track retirement review. It will include an investment review, a fee review, a risk analysis review. We'll give you that report. We'll also take a look at your taxes. Do you need to discuss estate planning, your healthcare selections, how and when to take Social Security? Are you on track for you to be and stay retired? That review is no cost to you, very simply by calling this phone number down on the bottom of the screen. More of what retirement means to you and covering all of your retirement bases when we get back right after this message.
I started working in the retirement market, seeing people during the day. And what I quickly found out is they had a really unique set of challenges that were different than everyone else. They were worried about longevity and outliving their money, worried about long-term care, how they were going to leave their legacy to their children and grandchildren. So I really focused my practice on that, and that's what I've been helping people with for the last 25 years. It's an ongoing process. Life changes, family dynamics change, the markets, the political environment change. So really sitting down and have a written plan. We want to make sure that you stay on track to stay retired. Right? The worst thing is to be 80 years old, run out of money, and have to go back to work. We want to stress test all these different scenarios and make sure that their plan is going to stand the test of time. You can't do that if you don't have a written plan or a strategy in place.
Welcome back. You're watching What Retirement Means to You with Jerry Means, the president and founder of the Means Financial Group. I'm Spike Spangle. We're trying to cover as many of your retirement bases as we can today. Creating income, that's really important. We have our savings from those 401ks we were just talking about a few minutes ago. But what do we do with them? Which ones do we take from first? Do we turn on our Social Security? How do we turn on or create an income stream that we can't run out of, Jerry?
Well, one of the tools that we like to use in our practice is annuities. Now, I'm always careful when I say that because in the financial planning world, sometimes annuities can be the four-letter word, right?
Yep.
But it really shouldn't be. I think, are there people that misunderstand them or misrepresent them? Yes, it happens. Do people get maybe put into the wrong annuity that's not appropriate for them? Absolutely. But if you find the right plan for the right person, it can be a great asset, a great tool.
And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing, does it? Because I think sometimes when those tools are being pitched, they're looking at all of grandma's life savings, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk about a balance. I'm not going to ask you for specific percentages because we don't want people out there going and doing it. But I mean, less than half, right? Or maybe a third. We take a portion of something for income. We still have investments. You want cash savings for emergencies and annual expenses, right? There's a percentage mix maybe for each person out there.
Well, you nailed it. It's really finding the right amount depending on the client's situation. So the way that I like to do it is let's look at your guaranteed income sources. What is your Social Security going to be? If you have a pension and you've elected the pension options, what is your pension going to be? Let's do a budget. Now, a lot of people also hate the word budget, but we're not trying to pigeonhole you into the amount that you're going to spend every month. This is not that type of budget. We just want to know what your expenses are so we can plan to pay for those, right? And we can kind of work backwards. But I like to look at annuities and say, okay, what is the gap? Social Security and pension covers this much of your expenses, but you have this much left over that needs to be paid for. How do we pull money out of your investments and pay and have that income stream and never outlive it? With annuities, they have what's called lifetime income riders. So you can add a rider on there where you draw an income from them. You don't have to do what's called annuitize anymore. You used to would put your money, it was like a pension. You would put your money into an annuity, you flip a switch, you do what's called annuitize it. You get money out of that annuity. It's a lifetime income, but you can never reverse that option, right? You can never cash it out. It's irrevocable. Today, you can do an income rider. It doesn't hold people to, they can always stop the income rider and pull their money out if that's something that they want to do. So it's a lot more flexibility. And that's one of the misconceptions. People think it's still the old way. Mm-hmm. They don't realize how these income riders work. But I use the income rider to fill that gap, that income gap. Now, anything above that, then we can talk about how much risk they want to take in the market because we know their income has been taken care of. So let's look at the annuities for income because if you do a fixed annuity or a fixed income annuity, you can't expect, or fixed index annuity, excuse me, you can't expect the growth of the market because there's going to be some limitations on how much upside that you can get. But the key is on those type of products, there's no downside. The only annuity that has a downside is a variable annuity. And by the way, they're very expensive in fees. They've got mortality and expense fees, mutual fund fee costs, rider fee costs, 12B1 fees. You know, someone will come in and they'll say, you know, I got this annuity. I want you to review it. I'll find out it's a variable annuity. Maybe their brokerage house recommended it to them. I'll dig in and find out they're paying 3 to 4% a year in fees when they thought they were only paying maybe 1.25%. But I know the questions to ask. I don't call their broker. I call the insurance company that issued the annuity, and I know the jargon, right? And on the phone, they're not going to bully me on the phone. So I'm able to ask those questions, and I'll look at the client and say, okay, you lost 18% last year. By the way, you paid 3.5% in fees. How do you feel about annuities? They're not going to like annuities, and that's what they're going to tell their friends. But I can have someone come in that has a fixed index annuity where, you know, they made 8, 9%, the market went down, they lost 0%. And their income is guaranteed for life. How is that person going to feel about annuities? So it's all about education, understanding the difference of the products and finding the right product for the right person.
Right. Also understand that there's, you know, a different family of them, just like there's different vehicles, right? You have everything from a motorcycle to a minivan. It's what vehicle do you need for what you're trying to accomplish? You just described a couple that you do prefer to use and don't prefer to use. I've also heard this term, though, over the last couple of years, going back to a conversation from another program about how interest rates have changed. And folks are refinancing or basically refinancing this tool, kind of like you refinance a mortgage. When interest rates go down, you refinance your mortgage rate. So if you had a 10%, wouldn't you prefer a 5%? Because it puts more money in your pocket every month. Refinancing the retirement tool. Are there still better interest rates than were available on these tools from 2, 3, 4 years ago?
Absolutely. You know, and I've been doing this, I've mentioned on the show before, since 1998. In 1998, fixed rates were great. You could buy a CD that was paying 6%, 7% rates, right? But in the 2000s, the Fed slashed rates almost as fast as they recently increased them. So my whole career, I dealt with a decreasing interest rate environment until 2022. One of the positives is savings rates went up. So CD rates went up, money market rates went up, fixed annuity interest rates went up. I've actually went back to clients that I put it into an annuity in 2020 or 2021 and have been able to swap that out for a newer one that's 2 or 3% higher than what they were getting before. So again, it's the clients out there or the potential clients out there, I don't want them to get complacent. Let's go ahead and look at interest rates today and look at the portfolio you have and see if maybe we can refinance or upgrade, if you will, your plan.
Right. And the way that you're licensed, though, as well, that if that's the best they can do with that tool, or if there are too high of rates or cost to switch something over, you'll tell them that as well. It's not just about looking for another tool. You're looking for the best tool for the person who comes in your door.
Absolutely. And we have instruments that we use in our office that search the rates out there. So I can sit down and say, okay, here's your age, here's your time horizon, here's the state that you live in. Because we do have clients in other states besides Missouri, the majority in Missouri. But we sit down and we look at that and say, okay, what's the best rates out there? And it automatically searches for us, and we're able to share with them, okay, here's the rates. What is your bank offering you? Let's do a comparison to the pros and cons of each one.
This is something I've learned from you, that as an independent group, you're not beholden to one set of products or tools. And the best way that I've learned this is that it's kind of like automobiles. If you walk onto a Chevy lot, somebody's going to sell you a Chevy, right? Yeah. They're not going to talk about the Fords or the Cadillacs or whoever across the street. Yeah. But you're independent. So you're literally looking for the best tool for somebody, not just something from a shelf of products that you have.
Yeah, if the only tool in your toolbox is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right?
Yes, right.
So that's how we look at it. Is I've been an independent advisor almost my entire career. Maybe the first year or two I was getting my feet wet, 25 years ago. But I've been independent, and that was the reason, because my name is on the building, my name is on the company. I stand behind everything that I say. So I want to make sure that if I'm doing something for someone, I'm doing the best possible job that I can do.
All right. Tell us a little bit about this on-track review. It's free. It has to be time-consuming on your part. What is the walk away? What do people feel? What are they going to have reviewed when they come into your office for this?
Well, if they come in for the on-track review, the first thing that I want people that call in to know, there's no cost and no obligation. When you come into our office, there's no pressure. We just want to sit down and get to know you. I really don't like to call it an appointment. I like to call it a visit. We want you to come in and visit with us. Have a cup of coffee. Tell us what your concerns are. But if you want to move forward, what we do at no cost and no obligation is the on-track review. And we're going to do a full written financial plan for you. And we're going to look at what are your fees and expenses in your current portfolio, and is there any way that we can shave some of those off? Do you have too much risk in your portfolio? What is your income plan? How are you going to take these investments that you saved and draw an income strategy off of that? And then how are you going to protect that? What is your long-term care insurance plan? What is your health care plan? We're going to do all of that for you at no cost and no obligation. You're going to walk away feeling more confident about your retirement. And listen, if you decide you want to work with us, that's fantastic. We hope that you do. But our real goal is to leave you better than we found you. So come in. It's no cost, no obligation. The number's on your screen.
Jerry, I couldn't have said that any better myself. Get your own on-track retirement review at no cost to you right now. Call that phone number on the bottom of the screen. While you're doing that, pay attention to this message on more about refinancing your retirement tools.
Have you ever considered refinancing your retirement? When interest rates are low, you might be able to refinance your home, your car loan, and even your credit card rates, because it could help you keep more of your own money in your pocket each month. Yet when interest rates go up, it may make sense to refinance your retirement. Higher interest rates could provide income opportunities that you may not be aware of. What works for your portfolio during low interest rates may not work for you when interest rates are high. Find out if a retirement refi could work better for you. Give us a call today and schedule a complimentary Refi Your Retirement review.
Welcome back. We are with Jerry Means. He's the president and founder of the Means Financial Group right here in the greater St. Louis area. I'm Spike Spangle. We're trying to cover all of your retirement bases. Have you ever been at one of those 17, 18 inning games that just goes on and on? All the vendors are shut down. They're throwing fourth rung pitchers out there to try to get a hit. How do we build generational wealth? You know, we're living longer than we ever have. Where does that start?
Well, first of all, I'm one of the guys that will never leave the game until it's over. I'm just superstitious. I got to sit there and root my team on. But really, to answer your question, that is really starting with estate planning. And I know that's a very general word, estate planning. People have different perceptions of what that means. You know, does that mean trusts and wills and durable documents? Does that mean wealth transfer? It's different to everyone. So I like to touch on the different things with people. I'm not an attorney. I do work with attorneys. I have an attorney that I refer my clients to that will give them a no-cost consultation and explain to them what he could do or what they need and what the cost will be up front. That's an agreement that I have with him. But I do talk in general because I am a fiduciary advisor and estate planning is very important. So I do talk with my clients in general before they go and finalize things with their attorney.
Right. One of the big things I think about with estate planning is taxes. I'm going to talk to our producer here. We have a tax tool that you have put together from your team. It's an amazing tool and it's a free tool. Estate taxes, though, aren't always on people's minds. Right now, I think the national threshold is somewhere around 13.9 million, but there's different thresholds for the states, the individual states. Taxes in estate planning, is this important, or is this let the next generation worry about the tax consequences?
Well, it's funny you put it that way because I get different answers from different people that come into the office. I'll ask, is estate planning or wealth transfer important to you? And some people will say, you know, if there's anything left over when I'm gone, then that's
great
good,
for
but
them.
I'm not really worried about it. Or if there's taxes, let them pay it. Then I have other clients that maybe they've inherited money and they see the value in that. And for them, that's important to kind of pay it forward. And they want to make sure that's done in the, you know, with the least amount of probate and taxes possible. So they want to do some serious estate planning. So it's different for everyone, but there's certain things that I recommend everyone have. You definitely want to have durable documents, durable power of attorney for finance, which just allows someone to, let's say you're incapacitated and you need your bills paid. It allows them to write checks on your behalf, things like that. Then you've got the healthcare directive. You know, do you want heroic measures taken if something's happened to you? You know, what are your last wishes as far as medical care? Those two forms I've seen personally where people have not had those, and it can tear a family apart making those decisions. So it's a very inexpensive document to have, the durable power of attorney for finance and the durable power of attorney for healthcare, or the healthcare directive. I recommend everyone has those. And I think every attorney would recommend that. As far as a trust goes, not everyone needs a trust. There are some tax estate planning reasons to have a trust. But what goes to probate are things that are non-beneficiary items. So as long as you have a TOD at your bank account, as long as you have, you know, on your life insurance or your annuity contracts or any insurance contracts, a named beneficiary, those are generally going to avoid probate. But there are some things that you can't beneficiary. You know, I had a client that came in and she has this big knickknack collection, right? Doesn't sound like much, but some of them are very valuable. And she said, you know, I've got this one going to this granddaughter and this one to this granddaughter. And I said, okay, how does your family know that? And, you know, and as a financial advisor, you know, this isn't really what I do, but, you know, helping my clients is what I do. So I wanted to have this conversation because I've seen this before. And I said, listen, make a list of who gets what, and then go get it notarized and then attach it to your will. Because a will or a pour over will are things that you cannot beneficiary, but a will does not avoid probate. It's what a probate judge is to decide. So big assets, you want to have a named beneficiary on, but there are still reasons to have a will. So again, these are just like the general conversations that I have with clients, and then I send them to the attorney for the actual documentation.
You say you're not an estate planning attorney, but you certainly know your way around this.
Well, 26 years of doing this, you know, you have a lot of conversations. I sat in a lot of meetings with the attorneys. So I know enough to be dangerous, I guess.
Is there a threshold for you where somebody does need a trust, doesn't need a trust, the will? What determines who needs what? Is it a dollar amount? Is it how many kids we have? If we own a business of our own? Are there any markers for you that you probably need a trust or you don't need to worry about that?
So a lot of times a business, you're going to need a trust, especially if there's partners that are non-family partners. What happens, who's buying out who, that sort of thing. But what I see more often than not is maybe they have kids that are either a spendthrift and they don't want them to get a lump sum all at once. They want to kind of control how often they're going to get a payment from the trust. Or maybe they have a child, an adult child that, has a disability and they're on Social Security disability, or they don't have the mindset to manage the funds. You're going to need a trust in that situation to make sure that someone is managing that money to take care of those adult children. So there are situations where I would say the trust is probably a no-brainer, but for most people that come into the office, it really just depends on what they're looking to do.
We've covered a lot of bases. I don't know if we completely slid into home plate with everything in a 28-minute show, but we did cover a lot of things. Started out by talking about creating income. We're talking about how do we pass on generational wealth. What are some of the other things that we'll also talk about, though, in an on-track retirement review?
Well, if you call our office and you come in and you sit down for our on-track retirement review, first of all, what I want you to understand is this is a visit. You're going to sit down. We're not going to pressure you. You can leave your checkbook at home. We just want to sit down and talk with you about what your concerns are. And then if you would like, we will develop for you a written, no cost, no obligation financial plan. We have a team of certified financial planners behind us. We can sit down, build that out for you. And again, no cost, no obligation. It's the time to get a second opinion. It's a new year. Let's look and make sure you don't need a new plan. And if you do need a new plan, we would love to help you with that. But our real goal is just to leave you better than we found you. So give us a call, come in, sit down. Again, no cost, no obligation. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about the fees in your account. We're going to look at the risk in your portfolio. We're going to design that income plan, and we're going to look at healthcare. So give us a call, 844-878-1293. We'd love to sit down with you.
And literally, like the name of the show, it's what retirement means to you. What are the biggest concerns? I think one of the biggest things you've said to me before, when people come in, they just come in with their box of stuff and go, am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
And that's what you can help answer for them by doing all of these reviews. The investment review, the tax review, Social Security report, talking about how do you build income, and as we were just saying, how do we create generational wealth, passing on to the next generation. It is so very simple. You can call the phone number down on the bottom of the screen right now, 844-878-1293, or you can use that QR code. Open it up to your phone to the camera function, click on it, schedule your appointment. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week.